Have you ever thought about getting fired for doing the right thing? Theresa stood up for a veteran and his service dog against an unfair system. But that was just the beginning. She never imagined that this unfortunate day would bring her the opportunity of a lifetime to fulfill her dream and change the lives of hundreds of others. The sweet aroma of coffee and fresh bread filled the air at Harbor Brew, a cozy cafe located just a few meters from a naval base. It was a refuge where veterans could find peace, away from the ghosts of the past. Theresa, with her brown hair tied in a messy bun and a smile always ready, was the beating heart of that space. She knew each customer by name, but Michael was different. Michael was a young veteran who rarely spoke. He came to the cafe every morning accompanied by Ranger, his service dog. Ranger wasn't just a trained animal. He was the link that kept Michael connected to the outside world. Gradually, Michael had begun to open up with other veterans in the cafe, sharing fragmented stories about his life in the military. For Theresa, this was a silent victory. But not everyone saw the importance of Ranger. On that sunny morning, as Theresa served steaming cups of coffee and exchanged laughter with regular customers, a man dressed in a gray suit entered abruptly. Roger Mills, health inspector, carried a black folder and a stern expression. His gaze swept the room until it landed on Michael and Ranger. "This dog needs to leave immediately," declared Roger, pointing at Ranger with an authoritative tone that echoed through the cafe. The murmurs ceased. All eyes turned to him, but Theresa was quick to intervene. "With all due respect, sir, this is a service dog. According to federal law, he is allowed to be here," explained Theresa, maintaining her calm, although she felt the weight of the tension in the air. Roger scoffed, as if her words were irrelevant. "This is a public establishment. Dogs are not permitted. If you do not remove that animal, I will shut down this cafe." Theresa swallowed hard. She knew she was right, but she also knew that the system often prioritized bureaucracy over humanity. Turning to Michael, she saw the fear in his eyes. Ranger, sensing the agitation, moved even closer to his owner, as if to protect him. "Sir, I can show you the documentation that proves Ranger is a legally recognized service dog," said Theresa, trying to keep her voice steady. "He is essential for Michael's well-being." Roger crossed his arms, clearly irritated. "I don't care. You are violating health regulations. Decide now. Either the dog goes or I shut this place down." The cafe fell silent. The veterans watched, some shaking their heads in disapproval, others holding their mugs. Theresa took a deep breath. She could have given in, but something inside her refused to back down. "I will not ask Michael to remove Ranger. He has the right to be here, and I will defend him." The words hung in the air like a declaration of war. Roger gave her a cold look before leaving, promising to return with closure orders. Later that same day, the district manager appeared at the cafe, visibly nervous. After a brief conversation in his office, he handed Theresa a letter of dismissal. "I'm sorry, Theresa, but we can't risk losing the business," he said, avoiding her gaze. Theresa left the cafe with a heavy heart, but also with a strange sense of relief. She had done the right thing even knowing the consequences. What she didn't know was that this moment would be just the beginning of something much bigger. As she walked down the streets, she noticed some people commenting that they had recorded a video of the moment on their phones. This would soon go viral, catching the attention of people who would change her life forever. The days following Theresa's dismissal were a whirlwind of emotions. She was trying to process what had happened, torn between frustration at being unfairly punished and pride in having defended Michael and Ranger. Meanwhile, a video of the confrontation with Roger Mills continued to circulate on social media. Comments of support flooded the platforms, but there were also harsh criticisms from people who didn't understand the importance of service dogs. Theresa was sitting in her small kitchen, trying to decide her next step, when the opportunity of a lifetime literally knocked on her door. Upon opening it, she found herself facing 4 men dressed in impeccable U.S. Navy uniforms. One of them, a tall and imposing man with gray hair and piercing eyes, stepped forward. "Miss Theresa Oliver?" he asked, his deep voice filled with authority. I am Colonel Nathan Pierce from the Chesapeake Naval Base. May we have a word? Confused, Theresa invited them in. They settled in the living room, and the colonel began to explain the reason for their visit. We saw the video of the incident at Harbor Brew. We were impressed by your courage and determination in defending the rights of veterans. We believe you might be exactly who we need to lead a new program here at the base. Theresa blinked in surprise. A program? For what? The colonel smiled slightly, as if he knew she needed more context. A support program for veterans. Our goal is to help them reintegrate into civilian life by providing emotional support, professional training, and resources to deal with the challenges they face after military service. We also want to educate businesses and institutions about veterans' rights, including the use of service dogs. Theresa could hardly contain her excitement. She had always been interested in working with people, studying psychology, and dedicating herself to improving the lives of those around her. She had put her studies aside in recent years, but now she had the chance to pursue this. It was an incredible opportunity, and also a daunting one. She had never worked directly with the military before, and the idea of leading such an important program seemed monumental. Colonel, I truly appreciate this offer, but why me? I'm not an expert on veterans, nor do I have military experience. Nathan leaned forward, his eyes fixed on hers. Because you demonstrated something that many people have lost: compassion and integrity. You risked your job to do the right thing. That's exactly what we need in this program. Besides, you've already shown that you understand the importance of creating safe spaces for veterans. We're not looking for someone with a perfect resume. We're looking for someone with heart. The colonel's words struck a deep chord within Theresa. She thought of Michael, of Ranger, and of all the other veterans who frequented Harbor Brew. Perhaps this was her chance to expand the impact she had already begun. But accepting the challenge would not be easy. When Theresa first arrived at the naval base, she quickly realized she would face resistance. Some officers, especially the more traditional ones, doubted her capabilities. During an initial meeting with the administrative team, a major named Collins was particularly skeptical. With all due respect, Miss Oliver, you have no military training or formal experience in support programs. How can we trust that you will be able to lead something so complex? Theresa felt the heat rise to her face, but she maintained her composure. Major, perhaps I don't have military training, but I know people. I know how to listen, how to create connections, and how to fight for what's right. This program won't just be about numbers or reports. It will be about lives. And I am willing to learn everything necessary to make this work. Her firm response silenced the room for a moment. Colonel Pierce intervened, supporting her. Miss Oliver has my full confidence. We will give her the space and resources needed to build something extraordinary. It took some time for everything to start falling into place, and Theresa's dedication was evident. With the colonel's support, Theresa began structuring the program. She visited other bases, spoke with veterans, and researched similar initiatives. But the real challenge came when she decided to involve the veterans themselves in the planning. Michael was one of the first to volunteer to help. I want to be a part of this, he said during one of the initial meetings. His voice was still soft, but now carried a newfound confidence. You helped me when no one else did. I want to give back. Theresa smiled, feeling a wave of gratitude. She knew she was on the right path. However, the work was just beginning. As the program took shape, Theresa realized she would face internal and external battles. Some officers continued to question her decisions, while skeptical veterans hesitated to participate. But Theresa was determined to prove them wrong. And then an incident occurred with a veteran, a harsh blow for Theresa. She was in the middle of a meeting with her team when she received the news. A former Marine named Pete had been found near the base entrance, disoriented and visibly shaken. He had served for over a decade, but now seemed lost, unable to cope with the ghosts of his past. The episode brought to light a harsh reality. The program was still not well known enough to reach those who needed it most. Theresa felt the weight of responsibility. She knew that if she truly wanted to make a difference, she would have to act quickly and expand the program's reach. But this meant facing greater challenges, both logistical and emotional. Determined to transform the program into something more comprehensive, Theresa began studying how to implement significant changes. She sought ideas from experts in the field, and within a few weeks, she presented different ideas that would soon be implemented. Partnerships with psychologists specializing in military trauma were established. They offered individual and group sessions, creating safe spaces where veterans could talk about their struggles without judgment. A professional training program was set up within the base, offering free courses in areas such as technology, construction, and culinary arts. The idea was to help veterans develop new skills and rebuild their lives outside of military service. And also a space for service dogs. Inspired by Ranger, Theresa created an area dedicated exclusively to service dogs and their owners. In addition to being a place for rest and training, the space also functioned as a meeting point for veterans who wanted to share their experiences with others who understood their difficulties. Michael, who now worked as a volunteer in the program, became a key figure in this phase. He helped train new service dogs and guided veterans on how to care for their animals. For him, it was a way to give back everything Ranger had done for him. Despite the improvements, gaining the trust of the veterans was not easy. Many still viewed the program with suspicion, thinking it was just another bureaucratic initiative that would not yield real results. That's when Theresa had an innovative idea: organize an event called Story Nights, where veterans could share their experiences in a welcoming environment, without pressure. The first night was tense. Few showed up, and most remained silent. But Michael broke the ice by telling his own story, how he had arrived at Harbor Brew completely isolated, and how Ranger and Theresa had helped him find purpose again. His vulnerability deeply touched the other participants, and slowly they began to open up as well. A veteran named Andrew, who had initially been very skeptical, was one of the first to actively engage. He revealed that he suffered from severe PTSD and often avoided leaving home. After a few weeks of attending mental health sessions and participating in the program's activities, he began to notice significant improvements. "I never thought anyone would understand what I was going through," Andrew said during one of the meetings. "This place made me realize that I am not alone." As the veterans began to benefit from the program, Theresa still faced resistance from some senior officers. Major Collins continued to question her decisions, arguing that she was spending too many resources on non-essential initiatives. In a particularly heated meeting, he confronted Theresa directly. "You are wasting time and money on these therapy sessions and service dogs. This won't solve the real problems." Theresa took a deep breath, remaining calm. "Major, I can assure you that these therapy sessions are saving lives. If you doubt that, come and observe one of them. See for yourself the impact we are having." Reluctantly, Collins accepted the invitation. The following week, he visited one of the group sessions and watched as veterans shared their stories and supported each other. He also witnessed the crucial role of the service dogs, which provided comfort and security to their owners. At the end of the session, he said nothing, but his gaze said it all. He was beginning to understand. 6 months after the official launch of the program, the results began to show. Veterans who had previously struggled to leave home were now actively participating in social activities. Some had even found jobs thanks to the professional training offered. Colonel Pierce was impressed with the progress and publicly praised Theresa during a ceremony at the base. "This program is proof that when we come together for a greater cause, we can transform lives," he said with a proud smile. "Miss Oliver, you have not only built bridges, you have created a new beginning for many." But the most poignant moment came when Michael announced that he would like to speak at a national conference on veterans. He wanted to share his journey and highlight the impact of the program. For Theresa, this was definitive proof that the work was worthwhile. The day of the National Conference on Veterans had arrived, and the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. The event took place in a large convention center in the city, with hundreds of people gathered: veterans, family members, mental health experts, business people, and representatives from military organizations. It was an opportunity to discuss the challenges faced by veterans and present innovative solutions for reintegrating them into civilian life. Michael was nervous. He had never spoken in public before, and the idea of exposing himself in front of so many people made him anxious. But he also knew that this was his chance to make a difference. He wanted to tell his story not only to inspire other veterans but also to highlight the impact of the program led by Theresa. When it was his turn to take the stage, Michael took a deep breath. Ranger was by his side, as always, offering silent support. The audience fell silent as Michael adjusted the microphone and began to speak. "My name is Michael, and I am a veteran of the United States. 2 years ago, I could barely leave my house. I felt lost, invisible, as if the world had moved on without me. Until I discovered a small cafe called Harbor Brew and a woman named Theresa Oliver." His voice trembled at first, but it gradually grew stronger. "Theresa defended me when no one else did. She fought for me and my service dog, Ranger, even knowing she could lose her job. That's where I began to believe again that my life had value. And it was through the program she created at the naval base that I found a purpose." Michael paused, looking out at the audience. He could see attentive faces, some with tears in their eyes. "Today, I am here because I want all of you to know that change is possible. It is possible to find hope, even when all seems lost. This program saved my life, and I know it can save many others." The audience erupted in applause. Several people stood up to cheer for him, including Theresa, who watched emotionally from the front rows. Michael ended his speech with a simple but powerful message: "Do not give up on us. We are here, ready to rebuild our lives. All we need is someone who believes in us." Michael's speech quickly went viral. Videos of his presentation were shared on social media, and the naval base's veteran support program began to receive national attention. Companies started contacting Theresa, seeking guidance on how to create inclusive environments for veterans and their service dogs. Nonprofit organizations offered partnerships and additional funding. But not all the attention was positive. With increased exposure, the program also attracted criticism. Some groups argued that resources should be directed only to more urgent issues, such as national security or military infrastructure. Others questioned the effectiveness of mental health initiatives, suggesting they were too soft to deal with real problems. Theresa faced these criticisms with resilience. During an interview with a news channel, she directly addressed the accusations. Saying that mental health is not an urgent issue is ignoring the reality of thousands of veterans who struggle daily with invisible traumas. This program is not just about helping individuals. It's about building stronger, more supportive communities. If that's not urgent, then I don't know what is. Her words further strengthened support for the program, and many veterans who had previously hesitated to participate decided to give it a chance. As the program continued to grow, Michael experienced profound transformations in his own life. He began working as a mentor in the program, helping other veterans navigate the challenges of transitioning to civilian life. His confidence grew, and he even started writing a blog where he shared his experiences and reflections. Ranger remained his faithful companion, but now they had a new mission together: educating businesses and institutions about the rights of service dogs. Michael frequently traveled with Theresa for lectures and workshops, becoming a vocal advocate for this cause. A particularly significant moment occurred during a visit to a major coffee shop chain. After hearing Michael speak about his journey, the company's CEO announced that all their stores would be trained to properly receive veterans and their service dogs. For Michael, this was a personal victory, a symbol that things were changing. Another surprising development came when Theresa received a letter from Roger Mills, the health inspector who had caused her dismissal. In a short but sincere letter, Roger admitted that he had acted hastily and unfairly. "Miss Oliver, I would like to apologize for my behavior that day at Harbor Brew. Since then, I have followed your work and realized how wrong I was. You not only did the right thing but also inspired many people to do the same. I hope we can talk someday. Sincerely, Roger Mills." Theresa was surprised but decided to respond positively. She invited Roger to visit the naval base and see the program firsthand. During the visit, he was able to witness the impact of Theresa and Michael's work up close. By the end of the day, Roger promised to use his influence to advocate for veterans' rights in future inspections. A year had passed since Theresa began leading the veteran support program at the naval base. What started as a small local initiative was now a national movement, with branches in various bases and even in civilian communities. The impact of the program was undeniable. Thousands of veterans had found emotional support, professional training, and a new chance to restart their lives. But for Theresa, the true meaning of it all was revealed in a simple, almost mundane moment in a cafe different from Harbor Brew. She was sitting at a table near the window, sipping coffee while reviewing some documents related to the program's expansion, when she heard a raised voice from the counter. "I'm sorry, but we don't allow animals here," said the barista, pointing to a service dog next to a young veteran. The veteran looked uncomfortable, holding his dog's leash tightly while trying to explain calmly, "This is a service dog. He is essential for my mental health." The barista hesitated, clearly confused and uncertain about how to proceed. Theresa watched the scene for a moment before standing up and walking to the counter. "Excuse me," said Theresa, her voice calm but firm. "This is a legally recognized service dog. According to federal law, he is allowed to be here." The barista looked at her, surprised. "Really? But doesn't that violate health regulations?" Theresa smiled, remembering how she had faced Roger Mills over a year ago. "No, it doesn't. In fact, preventing a service dog from entering can result in serious legal consequences for the establishment. I can help you understand the laws better if you'd like." The barista nodded, visibly relieved, and allowed the veteran to enter. As the young man made his way to a table, he cast a grateful look at Theresa. "Thank you," he said softly. Theresa simply nodded, feeling a wave of nostalgia. That moment brought vivid memories of Michael and Ranger, and of how it had all begun. It was as if the cycle had come full circle. Later, as she walked the quiet city streets, Theresa reflected on her journey. Losing her job at Harbor Brew had been devastating at the time, but now she saw that experience as a gift in disguise. If she hadn't been fired, she might never have found her true purpose. She thought of Michael, now a vocal advocate for veterans' rights and service dogs. She thought of the veterans who had found jobs, rebuilt their lives, and regained hope. And she thought of herself, who had learned so much about resilience, compassion, and the power of fighting for what is right. Theresa realized that sometimes the greatest changes begin with seemingly small acts. Defending Michael and Ranger on an ordinary day had set off a chain of events that transformed not only her life but also the lives of hundreds of others. At one of the many events she attended as part of the program's expansion, Theresa spoke at a celebration at the naval base. She felt a deep gratitude for everything that had happened, and she repeated words she had said during an interview months before. "When we stand up for the vulnerable, we are not just changing their lives. We are changing ours as well." This story makes us reflect on the power of standing up for our values, even when it seems impossible. What would you do if you were in Theresa's place? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to embrace the journey for more impactful stories. See you in the next video.